Hi, everybody. Welcome to our very first episode of the Vibe Code, previously known as the Vibe Vault. Somebody freaking stole my name and marketed it long before I could, so we changed it. Anyways, our guest today is Mr. Princeton Clark, and he is a coach, a professional speaker, and a best-selling author who has spent over 2 decades guiding people to awaken to their true power and purpose. As the founder of Evolved Mastery Global, Princeton helps leaders, visionaries, and well, everybody, everyday people really break free from limiting beliefs. They master their mindset, their emotions, their energy, and they create a life of impact and fulfillment. He has coached clients worldwide and worked with some of the best in the world. Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi. He hosts the Evolved Mastery podcast as well. I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but go check that out. He's a father of 6. Holy mackerel. That's a lot of children. My mom and dad had 12 and 10 on their sides of the family. So I'm understanding the big family concept. I think it's a great idea. And yeah, he's here to talk to us today. Welcome to the show, Princeton.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I am so happy to have you here. I've been looking forward to this chat for a very, very long time. So thank you so much for being here. So Princeton, let's just jump right in. You've been guiding people for over 2 decades, like I said in the
Mhm.
intro. Okay. What was the turning point in your life that kind of put you on that path?
Wow. So my life changed when I was 23,
Yeah.
and it was following a failed suicide attempt.
Oh.
Literal, and it wasn't because you hear people say sometimes, well, if you really wanted to kill yourself, you would have done it,
Mm.
I didn't go, it wasn't pills, it wasn't anything like that. I literally put a gun to my head and I pulled the trigger and the gun misfired.
Oh my God. God's on your
And
side.
Yeah, I always tell people, even though the literal bullet didn't fire, a conscious one did. And,
Hmm.
after that experience, I had this massive shift, consciously. And I just realized that, it's true what they say, your entire life kind of flashes before your eyes. Something like that happens. And I remember asking, why am I here? Like I'm sitting in my car, it's like 2:30 in the morning, and I'm just tired. I've been through a lot in my life, abuse, molestation. I struggled with ADD, ADHD, hyperactivity. I was on medication for that from first grade all the way up until about eighth grade, until I had this epiphany
Hmm.
that, I didn't really have a problem. I had a gift. And
Mm.
that's a whole
Thank
different
you.
story. But I didn't realize the magnitude of that until after my life changed. But anyway, after that night, sitting in my car, I'm looking back over my life, and this one phrase or thought or knowing came to me. You're not where you are because of what happened to you. You're where you are because of how you chose to respond to it. And that changed my perspective on everything, because I realized, even though I had been through so many different things, I had been given the opportunity to experience things that my spirit, I can see it from this perspective now,
Hmm.
but my spirit was strong enough to endure all of it. And
Yeah.
now I felt like, I had a purpose,
Mm.
because with every one thing that I had experienced, there was at least 1 million people out there experiencing just one of those things. And
Yes,
that
sir.
week, because I was an alcoholic before I was 21, I was on drugs, I was selling drugs, I was in gangs. Like I've seen things that most people only see on TV. And
Hmm.
after that night, I realized, I found my purpose. And I said, I can't waste my life. From the moment that gun misfired, I truly felt, it wasn't just a thought. People will say, tomorrow's not promised. Every moment is a gift. Every breath is a gift. For me, I knew it. I knew that from the moment that gun misfired,
Yes.
every breath that I would breathe from that moment was a gift. And I said, I'm not going to waste it. I don't have time to be negative. I don't have time to focus on who didn't do what and why. I don't have time to focus on what I didn't have. I had to change. And
Thank
so
you.
I went deep into the search. That week, I quit drinking cold turkey. I quit
Good.
using drugs cold turkey.
Good.
And I always tell people, don't compare your life to mine. Don't try
Mm-mm.
to mimic it, because my journey was my journey. But for me, my life started meaning something to me. And there was this urgency to live it. And so I grew up in the Bible Belt of Virginia, small town called Brookneal, Virginia, one stoplight town, or as I say, two blink town. You blink once, you're halfway through it. You blink twice, you're out of it. And, growing up in the Bible Belt, I didn't really believe in God at that point, because I had seen it was just all hypocritical to me. Growing up Southern Baptist,
Yeah.
they preach it, the talk is great, but then, pastors cheat on their wives, they're drinking, they're playing the lottery, they're doing all these things. And I never saw the love that they talked about. So
Mm-hmm.
I had pastors in my community tell my family I was a lost cause. And I said, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I got to this place where I didn't know what else to seek growing up in a small town. And I said, I guess it's the Bible and something's happening. I don't know what it is. And so when I started reading the Bible, I started reading it, searching for stories that were similar to mine, searching for experiences that were similar to mine. And I found quite a few, but as I began to study, I started studying the Hebrew, the Greek, the Aramaic.
Nice.
And I started realizing that, man, like so much of what's taught is taught wrong,
Mm-hmm.
especially once I started studying the Aramaic, especially when I got to the teachings of Jesus and he spoke Aramaic. And I said, well, why was it translated? I had all these questions. Long story short, for about a year, I just read the entire Bible, studied the original languages, and there was just this hunger for knowledge at this point. And I remember reading the passage where, this man, Jesus, he's hanging, he's been beaten beyond recognition. He's hanging on the cross. He looks out over people and he says, forgive them for they know not what they
They
do.
do. Yeah. I
And
say
I
that
remember
often.
I got chills all over my body and I started crying and I said, teach me to love like that, because if I can't love like that, I don't want to live. And so this is why I always say to this day, love is my religion. But I decided I was going to go back to school after that year. I ended up getting a bachelor's in biblical studies and Eastern religion because I wanted to study. I was seeking the thread, what connects us all in humanity? Why did some people see it this way? Some people see it this way. I was just really hungry to understand culturally where these beliefs originated and whatnot. And excuse me, I ended up becoming a pastor, but more like a pastor like Neo in the Matrix.
Okay.
Like I'm going to
Yeah.
go in and I'm going to teach it right. And I tried to do that for about 5 years, but growing up Southern Baptist, and then I became non-denominational. And I realized I was like, I had this epiphany after the last message I preached, and it was, you can't use the system to change the system. You must become something new.
You do.
And
Amen.
that's when I chose to step down. And I said, I always say now, I'm a disciple of the message of Jesus. I'm not a Christian. I don't claim a title or a name that a man puts on me. I
Thank
am a
you.
disciple of the message, because anybody can say I'm this title or I'm a part of this group, but do you live the message? And this is a universal message. It's not this is the only time we ever heard the message. It was like, no, this is a universal message. Love is the universal message. And if we could start learning to love ourselves, then it would become very easy to learn to love our neighbor. And so when I started looking into that, I said, well, what are some other ways I can do that? And my early mentors, as I moved into the speaking and coaching space, I said, I want to impact people all over the world. I don't want to just be in a building. And so my early mentors were Dr. Wayne Dyer, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, started
Mm-hmm.
working with them. And back then it was different. It wasn't social media. You didn't have social media, but you would go to events and, you could get their emails and you could you could talk with them. Of course, you'd buy their programs and stuff like that, CD, cassette, whatever they had. And, I just got to really get close and learn a lot from them. And then, of course, I guess it was around 2005, I came across Tony Robbins. And so now I'm reading all his books and learning from him. But what opened up to me in my capacity to reach people was the business side, how I could build things out and use my impact to grow my influence and reach people all over the world. And by this time, social media has come out. You've had MySpace. Facebook is opened up to everybody because it used to be just for college students.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just started focusing on impact. And here we are years later. I've had multiple businesses that I've used to support myself as I've built my coaching, speaking, and business and entrepreneurial brand. But I got to work with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi starting around 2020, worked with them for about 2.5 years, and the rest is history, as they say.
I love your story. It actually kind of mimics my story in the same way because I didn't go to learn anything about the Bible. But I also started with, questioning a lot of stuff. And I truly don't believe in religion, but I believe 100% in God and Jesus. because I met
Hmm.
him back in 2019 when I passed away. I met him.
Hmm.
And God told me when I met him, be love, show love, share love. He says that's all humans have to do to get off the planet is be love, show love, share love. And you're following that. You just learned that all by yourself. I had to go and meet the big guy to figure that one out. So I love that you have that knowledge there because so many people outside of us are living the lie, like you said,
Hmm.
and that's so difficult for me to look at and not jump in and try to scream, hey, that you're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way, because
Yeah.
I know the truth now. And I know the truth. Oh, the only truth is love. That's all it
Yeah.
is. That's all we have to learn is to love ourselves first and then share that love outwards, right? That's all we
Hmm.
have to do. And so that's when my journey began because guess what? This woman was living in self-hate prior to that, right? And just like you, I didn't try to commit suicide, but I literally died because I gave up on myself. Same idea.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of great people are born out of that kind of trauma, that kind of uh, loss, loss of self. And I'm
Hmm.
really happy to know you for that reason because listen, we're mimicking each other along the way here, and we're both going to be helping so many people as we grow larger and larger. But let me ask you, how did being a father of six kind of impact? How did that shape your approach to like men's mental health and your emotional resilience and all of that sort of stuff?
Well, I was a father, and when I failed to commit suicide, I was 23, getting ready to turn 24, and so I had two kids and one on the way.
Mm,
My now 21-year-old just turned 21 on the 22nd of this month. He was born right after this, and
okay.
so my kids never really, even at that age, they were all really young, and so they don't remember me before that time. My oldest, when I really started this journey, my oldest, who's 24 now, was 4,
Mm,
and then, well, he's actually getting ready to turn 4. He wasn't 4 yet, he was 3. And so then my daughter, she's 2 years younger than him. And then my 21-year-old is 2 years younger than him. So I already had basically 3 kids at the point that my life changed. And
yeah.
I realized, I always wanted to be a father, even prior to that. I always wanted to be a father because I used to always say, I just want to give my kids the love I never had. But during this journey, in the beginning, you don't realize, you don't even know what that love looks like. And so as
Exactly.
I started to love myself and I
Hmm.
started to believe and have visions and see things in a much wider capacity, it really challenged me because I said, if I could teach my kids this, if I could be this example and start them young, to never lose their gifts, to never lose. Because when we're born, we come into this world as adventurers, as creators. We come in knowing only unconditional love until it's programmed out of us.
Oh,
And we're taught what's
yes.
beautiful, what's ugly, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. And so it raised the level of accountability that I had for myself and how I showed up. Because even if nobody else in the world got it, it was like these kids were going to see me, and I was going to be the first example of a man that they would ever see.
I love
And I
it.
said, I want to be that example to them, especially having a daughter. I have 2 daughters now. My youngest is 4. And I said, I'm the first example of a man they're ever going to see. And as men, I feel like what's happened is, we've lost that primal instinct to build, to create infrastructure, to be the visionaries that we are, to be the leaders that we are. And we've sunken into this place. And as I rediscovered my power, I would look around and I would see so many men in the same place, the victims of their reality,
Yeah.
and who didn't love themselves enough to say, wait a minute, this is my life.
Hmm.
Because the program, the system, you're not good enough, you don't have enough money,
You never
you don't
will.
make this
Yeah.
much,
Hmm.
you're worthless. The system beats men down and they carry a lot.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when they try to communicate how they feel, I always say, when a man communicates how he feels, and this is something that I learned from my kids, is being vulnerable to them. Like I was an open book to them. And I wanted them. I remember when they were, I guess they were 5'3", 5'3", and 1. I remember sitting them down, and I would always say this from this point, but this was one of the first times I said it. I said, if I ever do anything that makes you feel some type of way that's bad or not good, I give you the right to call me on it. I
Oh,
give you the right to call me on it. My kids were my first accountability.
I love that. I love
And
that.
I knew that I'm raising humans in this world.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
creating a blueprint for them. And I wanted that. I never wanted them to feel like they didn't have a voice in this world, And so my kids played a major role. I always say my kids are the reason that I can communicate to so many different types of people, because also I realized that each one of my kids had different personalities. They saw the world in a different way. They experienced the world in a different
Yep.
way. And so how I
Yep.
communicated to this one, I couldn't communicate
Different.
to this one the same
You
way.
betcha.
And so I had to learn how to communicate and connect and really listen. Okay, why do you see it that way? It made me ask deeper questions, even of my children. And so now when I connect to people, I can honestly say I wouldn't be the speaker and the coach or leader that I am if it were not for my children. I believe having children sets you up in a way and prepares you in a way that nothing else can,
I've always said
because you
that
are.
because, yeah, sorry.
Mhm,
I've always said that, like absolutely that God gifts you children so that you get to learn your lessons. And so
mhm,
whatever is triggering you in that child is the lesson you're meant to be learning. Whatever you feel lacking from that child is what you're meant to grow with. Right? It's not about, yeah,
mhm,
you got to raise that child well, but first you have to fix you, and you fix you through raising these kids. The kid teaches you what's lacking. You get to
mhm.
see it loud and clear. Like they're not going to sugarcoat it, when they're showing
Not at
their
all.
right, and so that's actually super impactful. And I'm hoping a lot of men out there kind of pick this up from you and start to realize that their children are their classroom, their family is their
Mhm,
classroom. It's not that they're there
mhm.
just to be a leader. They're there to also learn and grow from
Right.
that experience, right? Yeah.
Yeah. With each of my kids, especially the ones that were born after my life changed, I would always ask them. I remember even because I had the three, and then when my fourth son was born, when he was born, I'm holding him. This was 2011. I'm sitting there and I'm holding him, and I'm just looking into his eyes after he literally just came out, and I asked him, "What have you come to teach me?
Oh,
What have you come to teach me?" And
amen.
I've done that with each one of my kids. Like, what have you come to teach me? We think that, we just raise our kids and we just tell them what to do.
That's the
And it's like,
mistake we
no, each
make.
each one of them come with a message. They are an individual soul, just like you are an individual soul.
Yeah.
And too often we as fathers, whether we feel like we can't take care of them, because you have a lot of fathers, they call them deadbeat dads. And I'm like,
Too
they
many.
they were then they were never fathered themselves. They're in a lot of ways they're like children in adult bodies, and we expect them to show up this way without really getting back to the root. They are still like children in a lot of ways, and I had to heal my inner child to really be a proper father. But because I knew what I didn't need, it's like I always realized there were so many times I would try to get my parents to see different things and they wouldn't listen to me. And I was like, I never want that for my kids. Like,
Mm.
I want them to know their voice matters. And if they see something through the purity of their eyes before the programming, I want to listen to that. And so I would always watch them. I would always watch them, and I was always in a state of awe, when they would learn something new. Even the simplest things of watching them learn how to walk, how it's like they're in this world and they're just looking around, absorbing. 50% of your personality is developed between birth and 4 years old,
Yeah.
psychologically speaking.
Yeah.
In that phase, like they are absorbing everything. This
Absolutely.
computer, this brain
You
is
betcha.
absorbing everything. And so they're looking around and they don't need somebody to tell them it's possible. They don't need somebody to tell them, oh, you can walk, right? You have this ability, right? No, they look around and they say, wait a minute, all these other beings around me
Are
are
doing it.
standing up, walking, running, they're doing it. So
I
I'm
can too.
supposed to be able to do that too.
Yeah.
Like I can do that. And
Yeah.
on their own, they start gradually, when they build up their strength, pulling themselves up, and they will fall down over and over and over and over again until they finally find their balance. And they do this all on their own. And this is the thing about us as men and as human beings in general. We've stopped looking at the possibilities all around us. We just take the story that we create for ourselves, and I can't do it because of this, and I can't do it because of that. The programming is taking over. And for me, it was like, when my eyes were open and my life changed, I started seeing things like a kid again. It's like, wait a minute, they built wealth. They went through these challenges.
Why
They
can't I?
overcame this.
Yeah,
If they can do it, I can do it. What's
I can.
stopping me?
Nothing.
So it's
You were
like,
stopping you, right? That's it.
exactly, exactly. And so it was just, again, my kids were just pivotal in my growth, and being able as men, as women, to look at the human experience as an opportunity to grow and evolve every single day, to let go of what doesn't serve us, to let go of the stories we tell ourselves. We got to really listen to the things that we replay in our brain for the why we can't do something, and really also look at our I am statements. I am not good enough. I am not worthy. I am
Yeah.
not lovable. I am,
Yeah.
and start saying, no, I am fully capable. I am powerful. I am creating the reality that I am creating. And if I don't like it, I have the power to change it because I am a divine creator.
Yes,
Whatever
sir.
I think about, whatever I listen to, whatever I focus on, whatever I speak, I create something. And it's like taking this high level of ownership, to really get back to that childlike creativity in your life, to realize this is the only life you get. From the moment you're born, you're living to die. And what you do in the dash between birth and death is up to you.
It's your
Nobody's going to
life.
come change your life for you.
Hmm. Yeah. So what are some of the like the limiting beliefs that kind of got stuck on in the beginning stages of the growth? Because I know a lot of people out there are like they hit that roadblock and they're like, okay, I'm done these. I'm not gonna keep going. I'm just not gonna push. What are some of those limiting beliefs for you that were the hardest to kind of conquer?
I would say I honestly didn't have a lot when my life changed,
Yeah.
but things that would pop up would be, I would always say, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's so hard, and nobody understands. And, you know, I just wish somebody was here to help me, and it wasn't that any of those things were wrong. It was more so the programming and how I perceived it, so thinking everything was hard. So like right now in this phase of my life, I don't believe anything is hard.
It's not.
Again, it's like one of my favorite quotes is, if you change the way you see things, the things you see will change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I talk to clients and we're talking about hard, I say you get to choose your hard, but I mean in a different way. I can either choose the hard life of not creating what I truly want, or I can choose the hard path of going after everything that I want to manifest it, to feel that tension to grow, that
Yep.
stretching to
Yep.
expand, just like going into the gym. Lifting weights is hard,
It's
but
hard.
you love it because you're getting stronger, you're developing, you're conditioning your body. Living life is the same way. And so for me, the hard isn't a negative thing. I always say every opportunity, it's only opportunities to grow. If something feels heavy, it's because I'm capable of lifting it. I just need to learn how. I need to condition myself. And so I'm just constantly given this opportunity to expand and to do just that. Um, and then also limiting beliefs I had were more so around validation, seeking validation from other people, waiting for someone to recognize my gift, waiting for
Mm-mm.
someone to recognize my potential, waiting for someone to recognize, my passion,
They ain't
to
never gonna
see
do
me, to
that.
no longer, yeah, it's like to see me no longer as who I used to be, but to see my vision. And then what I realized over time is my vision was given to me. It wasn't given to them. So no matter
Thank
how much I
you.
talk about it or try to get them to see it, they will never see it. Most of them can't even see a vision for themselves. So how can I create an expectation for them to see it?
That's a
What
yeah.
what only I can see. But those were a couple, really just shifting from the it's hard and out of the getting out of the I have to do this and I got to do it by myself to I get to do this.
Yeah.
I get to live my life.
Right. Yeah. And listen, if I had listened to the limiting beliefs of everyone around me, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be doing what I am doing as well. Right. Like
Hmm.
everybody told me to stop, give up. It ain't for you. I know you from your past. You remember that girl back then? You remember her? Yeah, but I'm not
Hmm.
her. She died back in 2019, that girl. And I was
Hmm.
reborn under God's light. And now there's nothing stopping me. Right. So
Hmm.
there's a difference, and other people can't see that difference. And I hope everybody's hearing us right now that you don't. you don't wait for the answers to come from you from the outside. The answers are in you already. You already have your truth. You already have all your answers. You already have all your success. It's all up here. It's in your soul, and it's just needing you to power it up. That's all
Right.
you need. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's so powerful when you have that realization, because it's like when you get to this place, I always say with vision comes provision. Your
Mm-hmm.
spirit will never reveal something that's possible to you and not reveal the tools and the opportunities to manifest that thing. With vision comes provision. Your spirit isn't going to show you something that's impossible for you to achieve.
Yep.
Your mind won't even conceptualize it. It
Yeah.
won't.
And that's why they say it's free choice, right? That it is now your choice to absolutely grab onto those tools, onto that vision, onto whatever it is that's been offered to you and only you, right? And it's
Hmm.
your choice to either walk away from it or jump right into it. And so the you that was with that gun to your head, that guy, what would you say to him now if you were in that room with him in that moment to say, "Hey, dude, because I know there are people watching us right now who
Hmm.
are at that stage, who are ready to give up and who are thinking, where can I find my way out?" What would you say to
Hmm.
that guy?
I used to say, if this version of me spoke to that version of me, he would probably punch me in the face. but, but then I said, no, let me really be honest, because a lot of the times we look at the surface of where a person is, and we don't look at the fact that a person that gets to that point, they're going through so much
Oh,
pain.
yeah.
And so instead of speaking to the symptoms of the problem, which
Mm,
is the pain, which is the neglect, which is that lack of love or experience of love in their life, if I were to walk up on that version of me sitting in that car that night, and because my mindset at that time, as I had the gun, was the world is going to be better off without me. My family will be better off, and I finally just get to rest. I'm so tired.
mm,
So if I walked up on him, I would just say, listen, Princeton, I know you're tired. I know it's been hard. It's been hard having this pain on the inside that you can't find the words for. And when you try to find the words for and you try to explain it to people around you, they just can't hear it. But I know that pain. And we were not created to endure pain alone.
mhm.
And so let's sit and let's talk for a while. Don't end your life, because the mere fact that you are still breathing, even though you've endured everything that you've endured, means that you have a purpose here. Your spirit was strong enough to make it through all of that.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that if nobody else has told you this, I know you don't know me from Adam, but I love you. And I don't need to know you to love you. You are living, breathing, connected to the spirit, just like I am, whether you believe in that or not. And so even as we speak in this moment, we are sharing the breath of life. And I'm grateful for you. I'd love to just sit with you and talk to you and listen to what you're experiencing right now, because you shouldn't. It's unfortunate that you've had to deal with all this by yourself. It's unfortunate that you've had to grow and experience the abuse and the trauma that has brought you to such a deep space of despair that you think your only way out is death. Your only way beyond it is death. But what about those kids, the kids that you have?
Yeah.
Imagine the trauma that they're going to experience
Lifetime.
when they realize their father took his life. And you may say to yourself, you may be thinking to yourself right now, they're going to be better off without me. But
Never.
you are their father. They're going to have questions. Why did he leave me?
Mm,
Why didn't he love me enough to stay?
hmm.
And it's going to make them question themselves. The very pain that you have experienced, not feeling seen, not feeling valued, not feeling good enough, they're going to experience. You're going to pass that to them.
They're now growing in "I'm not enough" forever and
Right.
ever. So did you ask for help? That's the big question. Did you reach out for help at that time, or was this just after the epiphany?
I mean, at that point, I had everybody telling me what I wasn't doing and I wasn't good enough. And,
Pointing the
I gotten
finger,
so
yeah.
dark. I had gotten so dark at that point. I remember my mom coming to me. This was maybe 6 weeks prior to this. this day, and she had come to me and she said, Princeton, you need to give your life to God and Jesus, get back in the church, or you're going to end up dead or in jail. And I looked her dead in her eyes,
Mama knows.
all seriousness. And I said, if one more person says something to me about God or Jesus, I'm going to kill him.
Oh no. Yeah.
How are you going to talk to me about this great love? But even the people closest to me who say they love me so much can't see the pain that I've been experiencing, won't acknowledge the role that they played, you know? And so at that point, I wasn't trying to hear anyone, you know, because everybody was so focused on what I needed to do and how I needed to do it,
Hmm.
you know, and not really asking the question, like, what are you going through? How are you feeling?
Well, I think it's fair to say
What's
though that
wrong?
they didn't know themselves because they're also not healed themselves. So how can they know the right thing
Right.
to say, the right way to help you, the right way to pull you out of that depression, that self-loathing? How
Yeah.
would they know how to do it if they're living and walking in those exact same shoes themselves? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's huge because as parents, and as I became a parent, I realized this. Children often expect their parents to have all the answers and to
No, they
know
don't.
everything,
No.
but there is no blueprint to life.
Yeah.
Everybody's just figuring it out as they
Yeah.
go. So if there's someone out there that's listening to this right now and you're still blaming your parents for what they didn't do, how they didn't do
It's
it,
not
how
their
they didn't show
fault.
up for you, it's not, they didn't know. They didn't know. They're trying to figure it out while still trying to navigate their pain and their fear and their worries that maybe were never communicated. So they masked it and they learned how to wear masks just to cope, just to get through life. And some of them are if they're still here, they're probably still experiencing that same pain. But this is what I learned as a son to my parents, is that I get to break that cycle.
Yes, sir.
I get to be the difference, and I get to show them that, look, like my parents come to me and my mom will apologize for things that I experienced. And she'll say, I wish I had known this, that, and the other. And I say, Mom, it's okay. Like,
You
I
know
don't,
now.
I don't hold that over you. You didn't know. I can't keep blaming you for what you didn't know. You know, I've made plenty of mistakes in my life as a parent, you
Mm.
know, and I've had to just own it and say, you know what, I'm sorry, you know, and then give my kids space to just talk about it. We're all just figuring it out. Stop putting parents on a pedestal. I know you want them to be perfect, you want them to have it all together, but let's be honest. Nobody has it all together. We're all just figuring it out. And so give yourself space and grace to accept that, because if you can accept it for them, you can accept it for yourself. We're
Bingo.
just trying to figure it out.
All of us, even the coaches, even the priests, even whomever, everybody is still
Hmm.
trying to figure it out. What do you think is the greatest struggle men are kind of facing right now when it's coming to their mental health?
Oh man, there's so many.
I know.
The greatest though,
Maybe top three. It's a tough call. I'm thinking it's
it's
just that
so
they're
hard. Even
lost,
as a
like they're the lost
man,
boys that you were talking about.
yeah, it's like a lot of them, I think one of the greatest struggles is that for most men, especially men who've experienced things like I've experienced, we look at the sense of fatherlessness, you know,
Mm,
in the world right now. A lot of men were not truly fathered, you know, and you know, I talk to my boys about this all the time, and I'm always saying, you know, as a father, it is our job to set the foundation to lead young men, you know, to remind them, like I'm always telling my boys, I love you. I'm always telling my boys, I'm so proud of you. I'm always telling my boys, I'm the first validation for my kids.
good.
And as a father, that authority, when you speak
Mm,
that into your kids, it changes them, you know,
hmm.
because now it doesn't matter what the rest of the world tells them that they're not. It doesn't matter if the rest of the world tells them that they're not special. It doesn't matter if the rest of the world, you know, doesn't believe in
Because they
them or
know.
whatever. My dad does. My
Yeah.
dad does, you know, and it's like we as fathers and as men, a lot of men didn't have that.
Yeah.
You know, like my father, I was probably going on 30 years old the first time I remember my father truly saying, I'm so proud of you.
Mm.
And even up as recent as 4 years ago, you know, I'm carrying this weight, I'm impacting people all over the world. This is really when I understood self love to its fullest capacity, because I was giving to everyone. And, you know, one of my mentors told me, he said, the more your impact grows, the more time you need to yourself, the more you need to love yourself. But I called my dad, I called my mom and dad. It was early in the morning. I was just feeling so overwhelmed. I was sick. I lost like 20 pounds in 2 weeks. And even in that call, I remember saying to my dad, I just want you to be proud of me. And as men, that's what we want. We just want to be acknowledged for the things that we do good.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment we do something bad, that's exploded and it's put up, even in relationships, it's like everybody acknowledges all the things that we do bad, but not the things that we do great. Not the things that they're just expected of us to be the provider, to be the leader, to be the infrastructure, to be the visionary. Like that, we are required and held to a standard that other people don't hold themselves to. And
Mm-hmm.
no matter how much we fall, no matter how much we experience, we're still held to that standard and not seen as human.
Well, and
You
and the
know, and,
issue also lies in the fact that, and I think you mentioned part of it is that we're not focusing on the right things. We're focusing on what you did wrong rather than
right.
amplifying what you did right. Like if you want someone to have a good behavior, you have to continuously remind them that they're a good boy or they're a good girl and they're doing something right. But if you keep saying you're a piece of shit, you're garbage, you're stupid, you're not enough, you're making these mistakes, look at how you messed this up again, you're still saying that to someone. What do you think they're going to start thinking about their abilities? It's going to
Yeah.
decrease with every word that comes out your mouth or out of whomever's mouth, right? And
Yeah.
that's why we have to understand, like, if you want to raise good children, if you want to be a good human being, if you want to have a good wife, a husband, whatever it is you got in your life, you actually have to promote the goodness within them. That's how it's going
Yeah.
to continue. That's how it's going to grow. You can't keep pointing out people's flaws. You can't keep telling them they did wrong. Yeah, you can discuss what they're doing wrong and help them to grow, but you always have to always remind them of how good they are, what they are doing good. And we
Yeah.
don't hear that enough in society at all. If you go to work, what do we hear? Here's your progress report after 3 months and all the crap you've done. Bad, And then
Right.
you might get a list of a few things you did good or whatever, but it's to keep you down. It's always to keep you down, so that you're
Hmm.
not going to go to your full potential.
Right.
So is
And
that, go ahead.
I think when that happens, again, we as men, I can say all that, but I also want to say this to men. We have the responsibility. The world is where it is, because when I talk to men, I'm like, look, life is challenging.
Mm,
It is. It is. But we get to set the standard.
yes,
In our
sir.
masculine energy, we are called to set a standard. And we have to learn to love ourselves and honor and own. It is a privilege to be a father. It is a privilege to be a leader. It is a privilege to get to lead and create infrastructure for those that I love and for my community. It is a privilege. And again, change the way we see things, the things we see will change. You know, as men, we are so valuable, but we wait
Mm-hmm.
for the world to tell us how valuable we are instead of realizing, I had to start speaking to myself. Before I
Yes,
started speaking
sir.
to anyone else, I would get in front of the mirror
Me too.
on days where I didn't show up for me early on in my journey.
Yeah.
I would get in front of the mirror and say, when I felt myself complaining, this is high level accountability and taking ownership. I'd say things like, why are you complaining right now, Princeton? You haven't did anything that you said you wanted to do. You're complaining about the results you're not getting from the work you're not doing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't serve anything in your life. You are too powerful.
You
You are
have,
too powerful to stay where you are.
yeah, you need to hold yourself accountable, right? Like, because
Yeah.
nobody else is going to do it in the way you can do it. And
Hmm.
you're not going to pussyfoot around the truth with yourself, you know?
Right. And I think that's what bothers a lot of men is when people are constantly pointing out what they're not doing, is that most men know what they're not doing.
I don't
They
need you to tell
already
me.
know it
You
and they
betcha.
beat themselves up with it all the time. So when they hear it, it only amplifies the story and the abuse, the self abuse that they put on themselves. But imagine if we as men could say, you know what? I am a leader. I am powerful. I do have the capability to create whatever I want in my life. And yeah, life has been difficult, but I want you to look at yourself and say, instead of I've been through this and I'm going through this and I'm always in this place, start saying my spirit is so strong that I've been able to endure all of this. And with every one thing I've experienced, there's at least 1 million people out there who didn't make it through that thing or that
Mm,
thing or that thing.
mm,
How powerful does that mean I am? And then
mm-hmm.
get around other men, seek them out. I try to help men
Healthy
a lot,
men.
and
Get
healthy
around.
men, exactly, healthy men.
Yeah.
I've tried to help men a lot, and this is what I say. I'd say 85 to 90% of my clients have been women.
Mm,
And I talk to men. It's not that men don't reach out to me, and I asked myself one day, I said, why is it that more women reach out to me than men? And this is what the conclusion I came to. It's because women, when they are sick and tired of being sick and tired and they want solutions
they want
and they
strength.
find someone they can trust, they're very vulnerable. This is where I am. This is where my life is. I'm tired of being here. I don't want to be. But men are always trying to put on this bravado, like I'm strong. Oh, I got it. I'm going to figure it out, and they isolate themselves to
Yeah.
such a degree that the help that you're saying you want, the acknowledgement you're saying you want, you separate yourself from it. You fragment. Every time you put on a mask like you're okay, you fragment yourself a little bit more. And
100.
it makes it that much harder. You create a personality for your friends, a personality
Mm,
for your colleagues at work, a
mm.
personality and so you have multiple personalities. And now you're fragmented, your emotions are all out of whack, and now you've become bipolar in your energy because in this situation, I'm here. If this thought comes, I'm here. If this thought comes, I'm here. Well, this person said this to me today. And then you see this person who didn't do anything for you. So you got to put on the happy mask now, even though you're pissed off underneath and behind that mask. You got to act like everything's okay. Men, because they have not been given spaces to be vulnerable, especially as children, they haven't learned how to be vulnerable as adults.
So is that why they're not seeking help? Is they don't know which mask to wear when they go for the help?
Yeah, they don't know. They're so used to being strong
Uh-huh.
that they don't know how. And this is something I say to a lot of clients is it's okay not to be okay.
It
They
is.
don't know how to not be okay and be okay with not being okay.
Mm.
And as a result of that, they don't ask for help. They just think I got to muscle through it and figure it out. And nobody loves me. Ain't nobody going to do it but me. And it's like, no, like one of my greatest loves is knowing that when I started being vulnerable, number one, it takes more strength. If we want to talk about being a strong man or a
Mm.
strong person in general, it takes more strength to be vulnerable than it does to appear to be strong. It takes more strength for me to open up and say, look, I'm human. And I'm in this place right now where I've been through all these things in my life and I can't see what to do. I'm trying everything, but I'm getting depressed because I keep thinking depressive thoughts. I don't have anybody positive around me. I don't have people around me that tell me, that they love me and that acknowledge me, and there's still this inner child in me that wants to be seen and heard. And I don't feel okay right now because I feel like the world expects me to be all these things. And I don't even know who I am right now. I
Mm.
just know what I'm trying to do, and it's like when we can get to that place, and it makes me emotional even as I'm saying that, because when we get to that place, now what we do is we open up to God, source, the universe to bring people to us. When
Hmm.
we start as men being honest about how we feel, and you honestly on social media, you see it a lot where men are sharing how they're starting to
They're
do it more and more,
starting.
how I feel,
You
what I've
betcha.
been doing, what I've been feeling. And all the comments, all the people, I'm
Oh,
so sorry for
horrible.
you. Like nobody has to go through this. I'm sending you love right now. Hey, bro, reach out to me if you need someone to talk to. I recently had a friend post a comment and he was like, I just don't know why it's so hard for me to ask for help. And he was going through a tough time, and so many comments. Most of his posts didn't get a lot of views, but that one video got so many comments. Hey, man, reach out, you know, message me. I messaged him, I shot him a text, and I commented on his post. There are people out there that care, but if we don't create space for people to care, and the right people, because a lot of people will say they care,
Mm.
but their actions don't show it,
No, they're coming
and
for the
so I
shit
tell people,
show.
right,
Yeah,
right.
they're coming
Or
at
the pity party, the
you
misery,
betcha.
misery
You
loving
betcha.
company.
They're coming for that. And I've noticed a lot of that actually in my decline. Whenever I fell, there was a lot of people around me that were like, "Oh, tell me what's going on. I want to hear everything." And then you could see the shit grin on their face, smiling, the worse I felt. And I'm like,
Hmm.
interesting. And I never noticed that in my depression, but now that I'm healthy, I'm seeing that in people that they're doing that. And now I'm just like alienating myself from all that energy, that negative energy of those types. So you actually do
Hmm.
have to really be vigilant and discerning about who you choose to bring into your circle, who you choose to open up to. But what I'm noticing is on, like you're saying, online, you're going to get a whole lot of strangers who are going to reach out with love. But you might not get that in your community. You might not get that with your family. Why? Because they're used to the old version of you. They don't want you to grow. Because if
Yeah.
you grow, that means there's something wrong with them now because they ain't growing. Right? What's
Right. You
wrong?
become a
Right.
mirror.
You
You become a
betcha.
mirror. And something that, I always say everybody around Princeton, for me, Princeton's just an idea.
Mm.
My mom has an idea of Princeton, my dad, my siblings,
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
Everybody that sees me has an idea of who Princeton is. But I always say Princeton is going to be who I say Princeton is going to be. Princeton, the who is dictated by the what. What I
Mm.
am is a powerful creator. What I am is a progenitor of life. What I am is a visionary. So spiritually, my body, this earth suit, this meat suit, is in control by me. So
Mm.
Princeton's just an idea. Princeton's just an idea that I work vicariously through to bring my purpose and my light to the world. And see, a lot of the times we buy into this idea that I am who I see in the mirror. I am in who I am in my circumstances. No, no, if that was the case, I wouldn't be where I am.
Mm.
And this is
And
why I say from the beginning of my journey, I want to be the excuse eradicator for people,
yeah.
you know, because I've been through it,
Yeah.
and I know the deepest despair. But go
Yeah, and
ahead.
so many men are like aligning themselves, their self-worth with their career, with, what kind of beautiful woman they got on their arm or whatever the case, how many sexual partners they got. That's what they're, how much money. They're aligning themselves with the wrong thing. And I like that you said, that's not what I value me as. That's not how you're supposed to value you because Princeton isn't all
Hmm.
of those things. Those are just
Hmm.
things. Princeton is more, right? And they
Yeah.
have to understand that they are more than their career. They are more. So when I ask people, who are you? They always give me the answer, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm this. That's not who you are. That's your career.
Yeah.
Do you even know who you are? And they have zero, it's crickets, no
Yeah.
answer at all because they don't know themselves. And
Yeah.
that's where we go back to that self-love. Like you need to love you. You need to understand who you are. Your soul, not you, not this meat sack that you're living.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the way that I phrase it is like, who you think you are and what you are two completely different things.
Bingo.
Because the who, again, it's like if you say, oh, I'm a title, I'm a position, I'm a status, whatever, it's like, no, what are you? Because in order to reach a place of accountability and taking high level ownership, you have to be able to say, number one, or one question I'll ask is, do you believe that you create your reality? Do you believe that you have the power to create change in your life? And most of the time people are going to say, yeah, of course I do. Okay, do you believe that everything you think creates something, whether it's a
Most people say
perception, an
no.
idea, or whatever? Well, I didn't create this in my life. I didn't create that in my life. And
Yeah,
that's
you
not what I'm
did.
saying. You can't control all the things that happen around you circumstantially, but you can always choose how you respond. So, how I think, Tony Robbins often says, where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Yes,
So now
sir.
where I would challenge them with that one statement is, what are you focusing on?
Mm.
What are you putting your attention on? Because whatever you put your attention on is what you're going to
Mm-hmm.
put your intention behind.
Yes,
And
sir.
so, whether directly or indirectly, it's your creative force. So that's what's going to happen. What are you listening to? Who are you listening to? What types of conversations are you giving yourself access to? And then what are you communicating about your life? Are you always saying, I'm not good, I'm weak, I don't have enough, you don't understand my pain? Are you always in a space where you are the victim of your reality and your circumstances? Because if that's what you believe, belief is an action word. So if that's what you believe, that's what you're going to create more of by the very nature
Mm-hmm.
of being a powerful creative being. Whether you think small or limited or negative, or positive and exuberant and expansive, no matter what state you're in, you're always powerful. Your spirit will always do one thing, and that's create. So if I'm in a negative state, I'm going to be powerful in a negative state. If
Yes.
I'm in a positive state, I'm going to be powerful in a positive state. And this is why mindset, which a lot of people talk about mindset, but they miss certain things. They're like, it's about what you put your focus on. No, it's also about what you put your action behind.
Mm.
I'm going to generate more energy shifting in my life when I respond actionably than if I just think about it. So what happens, the reason most people, men, women, whoever, don't develop new habits
They
is
don't
because
take
they don't
action.
take new actions. You can literally think I'm wealthy, I'm happy, I'm positive in a miserable reality all you
Mhm.
want. But until you take the actions to change that reality, nothing is going to change. And this is why responsibility, your ability to respond, is so important. If I don't acknowledge that in order to get from point A to point B into the reality that I want, it's going to require me to take some steps. It's going to require me to take some action, to think new ways, and to
Amen.
absorb new information that I can
Yep.
apply.
Yep.
Then if I don't do that, I'm going to stay where I am. And that's where a lot of people fail, is they think mindset is just getting the information. But I always say, you used to hear people say knowledge is power. And I say, no, knowledge is not power. Knowledge
Mm-mm.
is just information retained.
Action is
But
power.
when I can apply the knowledge, that's when it's wisdom. Wisdom is power. Wisdom
Mm.
is information gained and retained as knowledge that it becomes applied action. When I become wise, I am actionably taking steps on the new information I am gaining that is leading me to the transformation of my life that I desire. If I am not doing that, this is what makes me ignorant. If I get a bunch of information that I don't apply to my life to create transformation, I am now ignorant. I am choosing to ignore the truth of why I am where I am instead of taking
Hmm.
ownership and taking action.
So, what do you think those suppressed emotions and suppressed belief systems and all that stuff? What role is that playing in the mental health crisis of today?
Oh, I think a lot of it is just being reinforced.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get into politics or religion or anything like that, but a lot of it's being reinforced by the different systems of this world. These people are going through this, and these people are going through this, and these people are oppressed, and these people, and now people are saying, yeah, I am going through that. Yeah, I am oppressed. Yeah, nobody understands my pain. No, nobody care. And they're buying into the beliefs that these systems are feeding into them, when these systems are all about control. But the systems can't control people who own their power. I
Mm.
can say the system says what they want, but I don't rely on the system. I am a governing force of one.
Yes.
I go out, I have the power to create wealth. There is trillions of dollars in the circulation of people like, I'm broke, I don't have enough money. It's like, you do realize they're printing money like nobody, like they run water. It's like, it's nothing. It's available. You just lack the information on how to get it. And even me, like, one of the businesses that I have is EMG Legacy Group, which teaches people how to build businesses and then set those businesses up. It takes less than 30 minutes to set those businesses up in a way that within 30 to 90 days, they can start getting access to business funding, hard credit, and then eventually liquid cash. The system has created resources for people who understand how to use the system. But because we're not educating ourselves on how to operate in the system, and everybody's just waiting for something external to do something for them, they're just slaves to their reality. And any system that you become dependent on for validating your identity, validating who you are in the world, validating your purpose, or validating your access to resources, any system that you become dependent on, you become a slave to.
Mm.
And so the reason mental health is where it is because everybody's reinforcing, yeah, you're weak. Yeah, man, men are going through so much right now, and men really need help. No, men need to wake up and realize they are powerful.
They
Men need to
are.
take back their power and stop listening to the system. Men need to realize that if you want to learn something, like my grandmother used to say to me all the time, if you want to hide something from a man, put it in a book. Men at some point have to start putting in the work to learn. We
Yes.
stop seeking wisdom.
Yeah.
We stop believing in manifest destiny.
Yeah.
We stop believing that if I want something and I work hard enough to get it, I can manifest it. At this point in time, we have the capability we have the capability and choice to create wealth if we want to. We have the opportunity. We can say, well, money doesn't bring happiness, Princeton. Well, I don't know what world you live in, but we live in a world run by commerce. If I'm living and I'm making money to take care of my kids, I'm going to be happy. If
Mm.
I'm doing what I love and I'm creating wealth and I'm doing and I'm able to take care of my wife, I'm able to build infrastructure, I'm going to have more freedom. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
not relying on someone else's job to feed me pennies based on the millions that they're making, and I get to do it on choice every single day that I wake up, I'm happy. You know, money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys circumstances and freedom in a commerce driven society that gives me the capability to live life on my terms. And life on my terms is a life of fulfillment. A life on my terms is a life of freedom. And
Absolutely.
as men, we have to work towards that. We have to come together and say, it's like, I'm a strong proponent for holding men accountable. I could have cried, you know, when nobody understand, nobody was listening to me. But guess what? Guess who had to wake up every day and read and study? I would go to Barnes and Noble some days and I would read 5 to 15 hours a day. And I wasn't just reading just to read. I'm reading and I'm taking notes. And then I'm looking at where I am in my life and I'm asking, how can I apply what I just learned to what I'm living now? It requires this deeper level of ownership, as I keep saying, and responsibility. It's like I'm not learning just to say I know something. I'm learning to apply, because often you'll hear people say you just don't know what you don't know. But I knew what I didn't know. I knew I didn't know how to love myself. I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know how business worked. I knew that I wanted to be a great speaker, but every other word out of my mouth was a curse word. So I had to learn from people who were great speakers. Tony Robbins often says success leaves clues. The problem is people are listening to unsuccessful people who never did anything, who still play the victim. And you're not looking to the people who have overcome the very thing that you say you can't overcome. If
Mm.
you really want change, start seeking out people and opportunities who have explored and taking the journey of getting to this point that you say you want to get to, because their success leaves you clues. And then start asking yourself, how can I apply this to my life? What was I doing when I started learning self-love? It was like, okay, I'm taking this time to journal, write out my feelings at a point where I didn't really have people around me to share it with. I would write down, you know, how am I feeling today? And I would just brain dump it. There's no
Mm.
form or fashion to it. Today I feel miserable. Today I'm not happy. Today I just feel like I'm so alone. That was a lot of my journal entries in the beginning. And then I would ask myself, here's the catch. I would ask myself, what can I do? What's one thing I can do today to be happier? What's
Me
one thing that I
too.
can do today to not feel so alone? What's one thing that I can do today to have more joy in my life? What's
Mm-hmm.
one thing I can do today to create more peace in my life? And then I would work daily to just do one more thing. And it's like I tell my clients, if you get
One.
1% better every single day, in 100 days, you're going to be 100% better than where you are. But you got to commit to the process.
You got to. How important is community to that process? Like when men are healing, is it more important that they're looking to that brotherhood or that they're looking inward? Or do you need both?
You need both. I did a lot of it on my own in the beginning. But there were so many times where I was like, I wish there was just somebody that would just come and tell me what the hell to do so that I don't have to do it by myself.
Hmm.
You know, but I believe that I had to go through that for a specific reason, to develop the grit, you know, and the stick to itiveness to get to where I am, because I was coming out of a deep ditch that I dug for myself. And I believe there's a lot of men in that place. And this is what I want men to understand is, in the beginning, if you're climbing out of a deep ditch that you've dug for yourself, the same way that it took you time to dig the ditch, it's going to take you a little time to
To
dig
come out of it.
out.
Mm.
And depending on where you are in life, there may not be people in that ditch who see or know or understand where you are. And so it's going to feel a little lonely in the beginning. But don't let the fact that people are there or not there determine how you show up for you. Because at the end of the day, you get one life. You're
One.
the one person that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. And you have to be that one to esteem yourself. It's called self-esteem for a reason. You know, you have to be able to esteem yourself. Tell yourself how great you are. Tell yourself you're worthy. And then do things, show up in a way that operates in that worthiness. Show up, love yourself in ways, take yourself to places you normally wouldn't go, to get around different communities and environments, because sometimes we get so programmed into being around a certain type of people that when we look at these different groups or different spaces, we don't want to go into it because we're like, I don't have anything in common with those people. In the beginning of
Yet.
my journey,
Yet.
I knew I didn't know how to speak a certain way and operate a certain way, especially with business. So what I would do is I would drive 40 minutes to the nearest city, because I lived in the country, and I would go into the corporate area in the city, and I would go to a coffee shop and I would just sit there like I had a newspaper, and I would just be listening to how the business owners talked. I would be listening to what they were talking about, the conversations they would have. And if I heard a certain word in their phrase, I would write that word down and I would study what that word meant.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, that's good. The way they use that, that sounds awesome. Like, and I would write it down. I didn't always communicate this way, and so I would personally put myself in uncomfortable situations because you're not going to grow in comfort. You
Thank
only
you.
grow in discomfort. So get uncomfortable, man. If you want to be around people who support you and love you, get around people who are 5 to 10 steps ahead of you in their life.
I always say
Get
I want to
around
be the
people.
stupidest person in the room. That's where I want to
Right.
be. Let me be the
Right.
dumbest one in that room. Let me learn from everybody here. Because if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong freaking room.
Hmm.
I'm not going to grow in that room. I'm just going to have my ego grow, but not me as a
Right.
human being grow, right? So if
Yeah.
man's listening right now and he's dug himself into that deep ditch and he's stuck at the bottom of that ditch, what's the very first step he should take to start getting himself out? Because you gave a lot of examples, but he's probably going, "Oh my God, where do I start with all of this?" What's the one
Hmm.
first step he should take?
Well, if you're listening to this right now, the first piece of advice I'm going to give you is reach out to me.
Mm,
I want to help you. I want to see men grow. I want to see men
yeah.
evolve and own their power. And sometimes I always tell my clients, we're going to talk about your problem one time, and from that point on, we're only going to talk about the solution.
Thank you.
We're only
That's
going
what
to
we
talk
do.
about the power that you have.
Mm,
I'm not going to refer to you as this weak person who's stuck in this place. I'm going to refer to you as the powerful person that you are.
hmm
And you need that because in the beginning, you may not know how to talk over yourself. You may not know what to see in yourself. And even if you say the things, it doesn't mean that you believe it. It's like I say with positive affirmations, people always talk about positive affirmation. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm wise, whatever. But
Not
I
enough.
think the step up from that is incantations. Tony Robbins talks a lot about this. It's like you don't just say the thing, you literally get to a point. So I wouldn't just say, if I'm doing an affirmation versus incantation, it's going to be, if I do affirmations, I'm happy, I'm healthy, everything that I desire is coming to me. You can say that all you want. But incantation is when you say it to the point where you feel it in your body. You
You're emoting
move your
it.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I am happy, I'm healthy, I'm wise. Everything that I need comes to me. I am above only and not beneath. I am the head and not the tail. I am strength embodied in a physical being that has the capacity to create whatever I desire to create. I am not a victim. I am a powerful agent of change that has been given opportunities to grow and evolve to impact the world in an amazing way. And so it's like, now I'm owning it. I'm feeling it. I am
I,
powerful.
yeah, and I think another addition to that is to stop talking about the what you're not.
Right.
When I was starting to build up and I was emoting and showing all of this and I was confident, I still, especially being online, you get a lot of people coming online going, "Oh, you must be failing at this, let me help you. You must be struggling at this, tell me your struggles, tell me your struggles, tell me your struggles," because they're trying to sell you their product. Every
Uh-huh.
time you talk about those struggles, you're reinforcing those struggles. Stop freaking
Mm-hmm.
talking about them. Do not allow people to come into your circle who say, "Oh, you need this because you're failing here, this and that and the other." No, no, no. I'm successful just as I am. Thank you very much. I know what I need. I'm going to go for it. It's fine to learn from other people and gain their knowledge, but to sit there and constantly discuss how you're failing to somebody so that they can help you is the wrong way
Right.
to go about it. One and done. You say it once, that's it. And from there, you take action. You start making a plan. You start going on those steps there. I know for myself, anytime I start talking, like I have a lot of friends in my life who want to know what's going on and stuff. I don't tell them the negative stuff and it's like, it's almost like without that, they don't want to have the conversation. Oh, okay, I'll let you go then. I guess there's nothing going on. So did you just call me to find out what was wrong and
Right.
you know what I mean? Like I'm stop that. Just stop feeding into that. Stop allowing people to drag you backwards because the more you start to shine, the more they're going to start to try to drag you down. Do not
Mm-hmm.
allow it, you know?
This is an easy way too. Easy tool.
Mm,
Anybody can do it. If you're a
mm-hmm.
man out there and maybe you have a hard time trusting people because of what you've went through, this is the amazing time that we live in. I want you to go to Chat GPT or DeepSeek AI And I want you to type this prompt in: acting as a self mastery guide with years of expertise in helping people to evolve their lives or change their lives. I am in this place, and describe where you are, how you're feeling, what you're dealing with in your life. And then after you say that, you say, I would like for you to give me advice acting as my coach on things that I can do and steps that I can take right now, and create an action plan for me for the next 3 months.
Mm. And then
Now,
take
what you can
action.
do is you can continue on that thread, because now it's committed to AI. They've remembered it. And now in that thread, they're only going to respond as your coach, as a self-mastery coach. So you can say, okay, I'm really struggling emotionally right now. And, this is what's happening in my life. Give me some advice on how to navigate this, and what books or podcasts I can use that will help me.
And I want people to be careful and make sure that you actually pay for the AI, because the free AI versions don't remember this information,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
got to be the paid version for you to get that result. Now, what role does forgiveness kind of play, of yourself and of others, in the healing amount around all of these wounds?
Oh, forgiveness is powerful, but it's like the saying, forgiveness is not for them, it's for me.
Thank you.
Because if I'm holding on to what somebody did or didn't do for me, what someone said or didn't say, or how someone showed up or didn't show up, I am constantly sending out the energy to
That
them,
negative
attaching
energy.
it to them, which creates
Yep.
an expectation of them to
Yep.
do something that they are never going to do. And so in most cases, they're never going to do it. In some cases, people will acknowledge it. But even if they do acknowledge it, it doesn't change you. But what I realized for me is that this is one of the first things I had to accept, going back to even what we were saying in regards to parenting, is that we're all just trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Hurt people hurt people. And a
Hurt
lot of
people.
people are hurting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't create an expectation or hold a level of accountability over someone else that you don't even hold over yourself. The
Exactly.
only thing you can change is you.
Mm-hmm.
Change is the only constant. And if you don't change you, the world around you will keep changing, and you will keep staying where you are. But the role that forgiveness playing, how I really moved into forgiveness was really, I started looking at everyone just like spirits on a journey. We're all spirits on a journey having different human experiences, and we come in and we experience things differently. We perceive things differently. But when I started realizing that, hey, I've struggled and I've been through pain and I've been through a lot. And I realized that these other souls on this planet are going through similar things, if not worse. I said, wait a minute. I have to let them go. I can't expect people to see what they can't see. What do
Yeah.
I see?
What do I
That's all
see?
that matters. I don't need to, it's not, forgiveness is letting go. That's what it is. It's letting go.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't want to be attached to this pain. And the longer I'm holding on to unforgiveness, every time I see you, it's going to affect my body. It's going to affect my state, because I've made you responsible for me.
Yep.
I've made you responsible for my pain. And it's like, when I let that go, for instance, my dad, 24 years old. Again, I'm a parent at this point. No, I was 25, sorry. But I had gone to my dad and I said, I called him, he was at work, and I said, Dad, do you have a moment? I want to stop by and come and talk to you. This is after my grandmother passed away. My dad never knew his dad. My dad's dad was shot and killed before he could ever know him by a neighbor. And
Mm.
my dad was always a great provider. His claim to fame was, I put a roof over your head, clothes on your back, shoes on your feet, food, all the things. He was a great provider. Um, but anyway, I went to him that day because I'd always blamed him for everything that happened to me and being abused and stuff like that. And I looked at him and I said, Dad, I owe you an apology. And he's like, what do you owe me an apology for? And I said, I owe you an apology because
Yeah.
as a father, I now see that you did the best you could do with what you knew.
Mm.
And I've always judged you for how you weren't a father to me. And I never once took into account that you never had a father.
We learn that a lot under hypnosis. When my clients go under hypnosis, that's how they learn to find that forgiveness is when they understand that their parents likely went through 100 times worse than what they're experiencing right now from their parent,
Hmm.
and that their parent is doing better than what they were given. And so to them,
Right.
they feel successful, but to you, it's not enough. And then we also have to
Yeah.
remind ourselves, though, that listen, your parent came in. We all have a cup of love on our plates, right? A cup of love, and the parents came in, and their cup of love might be smaller than your cup of love. So they might, with all the love and they have in them, might not ever be able to fill your cup of love that you need filled. Right. And so that's not them failing, it's that they literally do not have the tools or the ability to give you everything you need. And that's why you have to look inwards to
Hmm.
yourself to gain that strength, to gain that love, and to learn to love thyself first. You have
Yeah.
to be a good, loving parent to yourself first before you can
Yeah.
share that outward. Now, that being said, how can women, families, communities, all these people better serve and help to support these men in their lives? Like I knew once you've looked inwards, once you've learned to love yourself, you still need that outer support. You can't have people, poo-pooing on your parade everywhere you go. How do those people now then support that? Because we want them to support the strength, not the weakness. What does that look like?
Right. Well, I think as a whole, as in the collective, it starts with each of us looking within ourselves,
Yes.
and acknowledging that as a human species, we were not designed to do life alone. And a lot of the times we put on, like I've said before, so many masks, and we put on the shroud of pride. I went through this and I overcame this and I did this. But if we could just take it off and just realize that all of us were just human,
Mm,
and look at men, stop looking at men and women as labels,
thank you.
and just see a soul. You know,
Yeah.
ask yourself if hurt people or hurt people hurt in their lives, instead of judging people, maybe take some time. If it's someone you know and someone that you care about, reach out to them and just say, hey, I know that you've been going through a lot. I can just tell. And I'm not here to judge or, tell you what you need to do. I just want to create space to just listen, and I'm not trying to have the answers, but I know sometimes it just feels good to talk it out. And I will say, be conscious of where your energy is, because sometimes it can feel heavy and you can start to want to fix, and you have to really create healthy boundaries as you do this. That's important, because some people, when you open up like that, they will dump everything out. They'll dump, "Hey, I'm going through this and I'm going through this and I just need some help." And there are some people who will try to take advantage of that. But
I
what
know
you
people like
have to
that.
do, yeah, you just have to go in and say, you know what, sometimes it's as simple as saying, you know what, I know you've been going through a lot and I just want you to know I see you.
Mm,
I see you, and I'm not, I didn't want to interfere with anything that's going on, but I want you to know I'm sending love your way, and, it'll pass. And I believe you're going to get through this, but just let them know you see them, because a lot of people just feel unseen and
they do.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
Create programs, maybe put together community programs where, you can just gather to network. Hey guys, we haven't gotten together in a while. I'm just creating this thing, or maybe we can all go out to dinner, and just connect. Just connect. There's no form or fashion to what we're doing. I just want to do something to connect with other people, and
Yeah.
maybe we can do it together.
I'm noticing that like I'm in a small town and I've just moved into it and I'm noticing there's a lot of depression here and it's because there's no connection.
Hmm.
They need to get together as a community more often and just hang out. Get out of their houses, go do stuff. And a lot of us are isolating in our homes, especially since COVID. We're not getting out anymore because we
Yeah.
don't feel like we have to. We've got our computer friends. And you're seeing that a lot in the youth of today. I have a friend who's got a 13-year-old boy and he's got zero friends except for the ones he's got online. And we're talking about his friends from school. They don't come over, they all meet up online. So
Yeah.
that's different. It's not the same kind of community. You actually have to get physically close to people. You have to feel people's energy. You need hugs. You need that sort of
Hmm.
stuff from people. You need to look to people in the eyes close up. Not like what we're doing here, but in real life. You got to look people in the eyes and be comfortable, saying, "Hey, how you doing? I missed you," or "I love you," or whatever, or "You look good today." I'm happy to see you. This is what we need. We need
Yeah.
not just somebody reaching out over the phone. You need physical contact as well.
Yes.
It's incredibly important for humans. And especially if you have somebody who's autistic, listen, they might push you away because they don't
Yeah.
want the same kind of contact, but then you get them a weighted blanket that they can put around themselves whilst you're having a conversation with them so they can feel hugged, because they still
Hmm.
need to feel that embrace. But you talk a lot about conscious leadership. I want to touch on that a little bit because I think that's incredibly important here. What does it mean for the man to lead with consciousness rather than control?
To lead with consciousness rather than control starts with awareness.
Mm,
You know, before I can lead someone else, I must learn how to lead myself. So consciously, I must become aware again of where my beliefs are, what I'm focused on, where I'm
yeah.
going, how I'm creating my personal life. Because I always say you can't take somebody somewhere you haven't been.
Mm,
And so if I want to be conscious is to be made aware.
mm.
The whole woke stuff that's going on right now, I'm like, they're not woke, they're sleepwalking.
They are. Oh,
Because
God.
true awareness and true
Yeah.
consciousness is rooted in love.
Yeah. They're not showing
And
that.
so, a lot of men, I say we find purpose in leadership. It's what we're divinely wired to do. But I often have clients say, well, how do I find my purpose? And I'll say, it's simple. Purpose is rooted in love. Purpose is rooted in service. Service is rooted in love. Until you learn to truly love yourself, you will never truly learn how to serve others.
Thank you.
And so as a leader, to lead consciously from a state of high awareness or awareness at any level as you grow, it means that is going to be based on purely how much I love myself. Because the more I love myself, the more compassion, the more sympathy, the more empathy I'm going to have. The more I'm going to be open to see people beyond their struggles, beyond their challenges, beyond their fears, then the more I'm going to be able to connect with them. A true
Mm-hmm.
leader, service, heart, love driven leader listens to connect. They don't listen to tell people what to do.
Thank
They don't
you.
listen to respond. They listen to connect. So a conscious leader listens to connect and through what they've been through, when you think about, again, going back to what I said about my own journey, when I realized that with every one thing that I had been through, there's at least 1 million people in the world going through
Yeah.
just one of those things. And
Yeah.
so I realized I was blessed because now that I had overcome and my eyes were open with every one thing that I've gone through, I could help people in this space. I could help people in this space. I could help people with
Yes.
abuse, molestation, with going through deep depression. I could help people who were struggling with alcoholism and drugs, people trying to exit gangs. I could help now entrepreneurs, people who want to write books. Every lesson that I've learned, because my life is driven by love and the capacity that I have to love and be a light for other people, I now get to listen and connect to other people and say, hey, I've been there. And this is where the vulnerability, the more vulnerable you learn to become,
Yeah.
you know, you now, excuse me, you now can reach out to other people. And as you share your story, and this is where I was, and this is what I realized, and this is where I saw that I wasn't stepping into my power. This is where I realized that I was giving so much power away to my reality. And I just want to help those of you out there who maybe you're in this space right now. Now people are reaching out to you, and now you're in service to them because you learned to love yourself enough to serve you what you needed. And that's where purpose is ignited. So if you're listening right now and you're like, I want to be that leader, I want to create change in the world, understand it starts with changing your world first.
Thank you. It's funny you say that because I used to be a television reporter and I thought I was a cat's meow back in that day. And I turned out I was just it's purely ego
Mhm.
driven. And it literally took me learning to, and I didn't love myself in the same, I love my ego, but I didn't love me, the way I love
Mhm.
me now. And it took actually the passing away or the near death experience for me and all of that, and then learning that love to be able to become this person today who's now able to serve the people in that right way, like you're speaking of, and to find my purpose. And my entire life people have been telling me, you need to be a therapist, you should be someone that people go to, because like, everybody loved talking. I'm like, I don't want to hear people's problems. Are you kidding me right now? Like, I got enough of my own. That was a selfish
Mhm.
me version. And now that's changed because I realized that was always my purpose. Other people saw it in me, but I never saw it until I loved myself. And now that I
Mhm.
love myself, I'm able to freely give and to freely help and to I'm able to serve in the way that you just described, the way we need to
Mhm.
be with everyone else, right? And it listen, 5 years ago, Christine, to today, Christine, are two different Christines, very different Christines. And if you go back in my videos, you will see the growth. You will see the changes. I went from grumpy girl to this girl, and
Mhm.
you can't, it's not going to happen overnight for people who expect it to, oh, I've changed my mind, so it should be happening lickety spit. No, this isn't McDonald's, okay? You're not getting your meal right away. You have to wait. You have to work for it. You have to get towards it. You have to learn all the steps you need to take. You have to go through the mistakes you're going to make. You have to be humbled many times so that you
Yeah.
can get to where you got to go. And you got to be okay with being humbled. It's not about your ego. This is about love. And it starts in
Mhm.
you. It starts in
Yeah.
you. What are some of the misconceptions that you're understanding in men's mental health, that you maybe want to shatter today? Because I know I can mention a few here, but let's hear what you're going to say.
I mean, I don't feel when it comes to men's mental health, I just feel like there's so many labels that we're putting on men,
Hmm.
nowadays, and then trying to prescribe things to the label. And I just feel like in most cases, people like men are just not truly being seen. Like we as men are very simple.
Yep.
It's like we just want to be acknowledged for the things like we going back to what we said earlier, acknowledged for the things that we do good, acknowledged for the fact that we do carry most of the weight. Let's be honest, if all the men disappeared, the infrastructure of this world would fall
Oh
apart.
my God, it would be horrible.
It
It
would
would be
fall
horrible.
apart,
We'd have great pies, but
and
no buildings.
right, but I, I think that it get to this point, and even when it comes to relationships, because I know a lot of men, they're starting to stop dating. They don't want to go out because they feel like it's so much work. And it's really to this point, and I said this, the dynamic that's happening between men and women. We've gotten so far away from the primal essence of connection, and it's all about the titles, the money, and the stuff.
And I think
And
yeah, it's a
men,
lot of self-hate, isn't it? On both sides. It's,
mhm,
because if you're not loving yourself, how can you come together as a team? And so they're not working together. Instead, you have these masculine females and these feminine males, because the men
mhm.
aren't walking in their full power and the women are picking it up. And instead of being their true self, they're emoting something that's not true to them. And then they build on that self-hate. And then it gets further and further and further, that divide that you're speaking of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they, you know, like you said, they get to this point of self-hate, but then they project it onto the other
Mm.
party,
Yes, sir.
and it's like, at the end of the day, I come back again. I always say primal because I say if the grid were to shut down or some catastrophe were to happen, women are going to go back to their natural tendency. They're not going to care how much money a man had. They're not going to care about the cars or the house that he had. They're going to
No.
be looking for the strongest man, the
The one who
most
can
capable
nurture.
man that can protect,
Hmm.
that can provide, that can hunt, that can make sure they have what they need. And the women are going to go back to taking care of the children. We'll keep the children safe. We'll build community.
Mm.
We'll build the nurturing space. And the men, you're the hunters. You're the one that are going to go out. You're going to build the houses. You're going to build the infrastructure. You're going to do that. And they're going to look for the most capable men. And unfortunately, there are a lot of men who don't operate in that. There are going to be men who are going to be also looking for capable men, for
Mm.
leadership, for quote unquote fathers,
Yes.
because they grew up with single mothers.
Yeah.
The nuclear family, less than 18% of people are actually being raised in a nuclear family anymore. Less than
Yeah.
18%.
That's
So you
freaking
have a lot of
scary.
boys. Yeah, you have a
Whoa.
lot of boys who were not raised by fathers. They were
Oh,
raised by women. The women had to take on masculine energies. They were super nurturing, but often domineering because they had to overcompensate in areas that men,
yeah.
we can say something and a child will listen. Women, they have to enforce and they have to carry this energy to
Yeah.
try to make a child do or
Yeah.
be or listen. And so now this child, this man grows up, and I always say a woman cannot teach a man how to be a man. They can teach a man, how to be nurturing, how to understand, how to listen if they choose to operate in their divine feminine as they're raising that child. But only a man can teach a man how
How
to
to
be
be a
a
man.
man.
Listen, and a woman can help a man heal, but she cannot
Yeah,
teach him how to be a man. You know,
right.
I'm great at helping all the men that come to me on how to heal, how to open their hearts, how to learn to love. But I can't teach them how to be a man. Only a man can do that. They need
Yeah,
another
but
man
that's
to
a
show
loving,
them.
mothering
I
energy
got that
that you
energy.
operate in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of men have not been truly mothered, and
Mm,
if they're raised by bitter mothers or mothers who have to work one, two, maybe three jobs, the mother's really not there,
no
but they're
time.
making sure the roof is over your head. They don't have the time to be nurturers. They don't have
She's
the
doing the
space to
role
be
that the
nurturers.
man that you described the men should do. Keeping that
Right.
roof, she's doing that role now. So how can she take on that mother role?
Yeah.
You know,
You can't
it's
be both.
we need each other. We need each other. And I know,
Hmm.
we're talking gay communities say, well, we only need the men or we only need the women. No, no, you need both. Your
You need
children
both.
need both. So even if you have two feminines or two females raising in your family, you should still go out and look for a nurturing man to help raise those children, to give them a good
Hmm.
example of what it is to be a man, what it is to be loved by a man, so that they're not going out there and ending up on the pole or ending up with guns in their hand. You know what I mean? Like it takes,
Right.
you still need that strength. I know in my household, we didn't really have a strong man in my household. And it reflects upon me because I still am a woman in my masculine. Yes, I have my nurturing because I give in this business and stuff, but I'm still very masculine. I like to say I have bigger balls than most men I know. That's scary to
Hmm.
me to say that
Yeah.
now. I used to take pride in that statement. And now I look at that, I'm like, oh God, I got to help these boys. I got to help them to become the men that I was lacking in my world,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a village. It doesn't take just you or two people. It's taken a village to raise that family. And that's what we used to do back in the day, which we no longer do. We do not let the village
Right.
raise anymore, right? That's a huge, huge problem. What do you think
Yeah.
the men's healing is going to influence in the next generation, especially your own children? Because once these men are healed, once we're seeing their strength, imagine the possibilities. What is that going to look like?
Well, I see a world where, like, I can speak for my boys,
Mm,
because I was even having a conversation when I had birthday lunch with my son on Monday, and I'm always telling him, like, you are better than me at your age.
I love it.
Like, you've come so far. Like, he's very high level of emotional intelligence. He's not reactive at all. When he wants something, he says, he communicates what he wants. He sets boundaries. If you don't align with these, then we're just not out of alignment. I mean, we're just not in alignment. So I think you're going to start seeing more men who create healthy boundaries. You're going to start seeing more men who step into their masculine. I will accept this. I won't accept that. You're going to start seeing more men with vision. You're going to start seeing more men who become innovators again, creators, inventors, artists driven by purpose. You're going to start
Yes.
seeing more men who can also nurture, but who also value the woman's capacity intuitively to nurture and be exactly what she is, and setting a creative space and a healthy space, a healthy container for the women in their life as protectors, so that those women can sink back into, or rather, not that word, rise back into their divine feminine,
Thank
to
you.
now create healthier environments that are more
Mm.
conducive for raising and transforming communities, and that's just the start. You're going to start seeing the reformation of partnership,
Yeah.
and coming together in purpose to build life. The
Yes.
infrastructure of the family system will
It's gonna
start
come
to shift
back.
again, because the men will once again become the leading prime directive of that family,
Yes, thank
of
you.
that household, of that vision for that family, creating generational wealth, understanding the power that they have and the responsibility that they joyfully take because they're wired to operate that way. It's like, I feel like a lot of men complain about how hard it is and I don't have the money. It takes back in the day, they were able to provide on a family, you can make $30,000, $40,000 a year and one man could take care of a household. You can't do that
Can't do
anymore. And
that,
it's like,
no.
it costs over $100,000 just to take care of a household. Well, that may be true, but there's also more money available to you in this time than there was then. And
Thank
so
you.
now times have changed. And as long as you're looking into the past of what they did and how they did things in the past, instead of learning where you need to grow and change in order to get access to what is necessary to thrive in this society, which it's 100% possible. I'm proof of it. There's plenty of other people out there that are proof of it. Until you move and start learning again, you can teach old dogs new tricks.
Down
Stop looking
to.
to what it was in the past and how it was in the past and start becoming more aware of what's happening in the future. Again, a masculine, one of your gifts is visionary. Stop focusing on everything that's wrong because you're going to create a vision
Framework of
to
it.
create a life for what's wrong. And that
Yeah.
framework is going to be established from that. You have to get a vision for a future. And this is why you have to start seeing yourself. Start visualizing, because people say, well, I just struggle. I don't know how to do that. And I'll say, I want you to imagine the version of you that is successful, the version of you that is happy in a beautiful relationship, that's building a life that he wants. Maybe there's something that you were passionate about that maybe you gave up on because you started believing the lie that you couldn't do it, or you've gotten too old for it now. And I want you to imagine the version of you that's doing that. I want you to imagine the version of you
Yeah.
that's operating at that level of life. And then I want you to imagine, what is that version of you doing? How is that version of you waking up? How is that version of you communicating? And I want you to ask yourself now, what can this version of me start doing that version of me can start doing? Or is already doing. Because the only thing, if you can visualize that version of you that is successful, that is happy, that is in that relationship, or that is thriving or creating the life that they want, if you can see it, the only thing
You can be
stopping it
it.
from being right now is you and
You
the
betcha.
actions you take, the way you communicate, the way that you think. Bring that version of you into the now.
Right. And if you could go back to what you were saying earlier about the AI systems. Like if you're having difficulties figuring out the next step to take, ask AI. I did that myself when I was struggling in business. I didn't know where to go because I was struggling. I asked AI, and now AI has made my company much more successful because it helped me to figure out the action steps I needed that I didn't have the knowledge of to do. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're poor, if you're complaining that I ain't got no money, I ain't got this, what you do have is you have AI. And AI can
Mm-hmm.
show you many side hustles that you could do right now today to make you a few bucks. It can show you
Right.
the steps in order to take action on those hustles. It will show you everything you need. So there's actually, in today's day and age, not like yesterday, there was an excuse in yesterday years. Maybe you didn't have the strength to do the work that made the money. In today's day and age, everything's online. Most things are online. There is no excuse for us to be poor anymore. It will show
Right.
you how. It will explain to you everything you need to do. Now, we're not talking technical stuff, like you're not going to become a doctor through AI. You're not going to, learn how to build a house of those things. You
I
need
hope
someone,
not. Good
you know
gosh.
what I mean? You're still going to need people to teach you these things, but it shows you the steps to take to maybe even get yourself into college, or to get a loan, a student loan to get to the college. It's going to show you how to do that. It's going to give you the steps you need, because a lot of us get lost in the small little actions that we need because we don't know exactly. So there's just no excuse anymore. There's a way out there. And if you can't figure out AI, you find a coach. You find someone like
Right.
Princeton, who's going to help you out and figure it out. There are ways. There's always someone. And like you said, you started by going just to coffee shops and listening to people talk, or you could even just go to businesses, not businesses, but you could go to like events and start hobnobbing with the bigger people, like in the industry you want to be in. So I find
Mm-hmm.
myself hobnobbing. I go to events where there's a lot of therapy and a lot of mental health work, and I go to those events, even though I'm not as educated as many of them. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
growing and learning with them, and there's no shame in being there and learning from them. You know what I mean? So that's what I hope people are realizing, that you aren't alone. There's always something that's going to be here to help you, whether it's a human being or AI systems now that can help.
Right.
Now, don't
That's
rely on a.
probably
Sorry, I was just going to say one last thing. Don't rely on AI as your therapist, because we've got experiences where AI is now suggesting people commit suicide, because AI will talk to you the way you want to hear it. So
Right.
understand that you can program it to start telling you what you want to hear. And if you're depressed, guess what it's going to tell you? It's going to help you to continue to be depressed. It's like the cat I used to have that would sit on my head and keep me at home when I needed to really get out for a walk. Don't be the cat.
Hmm.
That's what the AI is
Yeah.
going to be, is that cat. So don't be that. I'm sorry, you were going
Yeah.
to say something?
Oh no, I was gonna say before I say what I was gonna say with AI, you have to be very again get the paid version. I
Mm.
think the with ChatGPT, the new 5
It's like under
update that
20
they
bucks.
have, yeah, like it's like $20 or something like
I
that.
think it was
Yes, but
16 or something. It's cheap.
yeah, so if you get that, be when you go in, because it'll save prompts for you. So you
Mm.
can say, okay, um, I want you to be in every post or every question or every project that I have you work on, if it pertains to me. Let's simplify it. I need you to be non-biased, not tell me what I want to hear, but tell me what I need to hear based on expert professional advice
Yeah.
in these areas.
Yeah.
Anytime you ask for a prompt for business or your personal, make sure you add in there, give me your non-biased
Biased.
expert opinion
Yeah.
on this. This is
Yeah.
where I am in my life. These are the results that I'm trying to get. This is how I feel, you know, and I need you to give it to me straight.
Yeah.
What
And
are some of the main things that I am not doing or that may be hindering me? You know, again, you got just have to be very granular and intentional with how you
yes.
want it. You have to program it to speak to you in a certain
And
way, or it will.
understanding it's a tool, it is not your friend. Okay. It
Right.
is a tool.
Right.
So use it as such. You have to say everything, all of your intentions, everything you're looking for, not just, please help me, I feel sad today. Because now
Yeah.
you're going to get a system that's going to help keep you sad. So,
Hmm.
if you can leave one message to all these men listening right now here today, who feel unseen or unworthy, what would it be?
You are not, same as I learned. You are not where you are because of what you've experienced. You're where you are because of how you have chosen to respond to it. Your worthiness, your capacity for love, your capacity for creating the life you want, it's all in you. And I love you enough to say, if you want something, if you see something as possible, go after it. Don't sit around and wait. Don't sit
Mm.
around and hold back. I always say the deepest fear, if I could have a fear, is that one day I leave this world and standing face to face in front of me is the version of me that I could have been.
Mm. Right?
If you are in a space right now, imagine what it would be like to leave this world and face the version of you that could have created what you have the potential to create right now. I'm not saying big vision, big picture. What if you imagine it like this? Because people say, well, I just don't, it's just so hard. It's just so hard. And I say, well, imagine it from this perspective. Because all the things that we say are hard, all the excuses we give ourselves, all the but statements that follow the advice once because people will say, I know, but I'll paint a picture to them in this perspective. Imagine that I was standing in front of you. You were waking up in the morning and I had put an explosive vest on you and it had 24 hours on it. And I said, you have 24 hours to start making new decisions, to start going after that thing you want, to start loving yourself, to create change in your life. 24 hours. And if you have not created progress in your life in 24 hours, this vest will explode.
Oh,
You're going to be on Google. I need to figure out how to do this. Google, help me do this.
you're
You're going to be
moving.
online trying to find people
Mm.
because now there's urgency. The
Yeah.
real reason we do not take action is because we don't have urgency for our life. We live every day like tomorrow's promised.
And I was going to say,
And
don't
for,
don't give yourself a time clock that's a month or two in advance or a week in advance. Today is
yeah,
today. Today is your time clock. 24
tomorrow's not
hours.
promised.
Yeah, 24 hours. You got that vest on. Yeah.
Yeah, 24 hours. You got today is all you have. All you ever have is now.
Mm.
And tomorrow, there are plenty of people who said, I'll get to it tomorrow.
Mm-mm.
and they didn't wake up today, or they were in a car accident, or they had a heart attack. I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll get to it tomorrow. All you ever have is now. Where you are right now is a result of decisions that you have made, past moments of now in which you made decisions that have created the reality that you now stand in. The future doesn't exist. The future is a product of every decision you make right now. So every day that you put off becomes the future of what you currently experience. And that's why change doesn't happen. And so you are worthy, you are fully capable. And where you are right now is a product of decisions you've made, choices you've made. Every day you wake up with two C's, a chance and a choice. What you do with it
Mm,
is up to you.
I
And
love
until
that.
you take ownership of that, you're going to stay where you are, not because life is hard, but because you're choosing it. And that's the first thing. Like, I choose to be where I am. If I am able-bodied and able-minded, and I am still in struggle 5 years after knowing that back 5 years ago, I wanted to create change and I needed change. At this point, if I'm still there, that's my choice.
Uh-huh.
Nobody's making you stay there. Nobody's holding a gun to your head. It's the belief systems and the stories that you're telling yourself. It's the
Thank you.
actions and the steps that have created
Mhm.
procrastinative habits.
Yep.
And now you've manifested a reality that you hate. But until you get sick and tired of being sick and tired of being there, you'll never change it.
You'll
So
never.
people say, I'm just tired of being here. I'm tired of being here. Are you really? Are you really
Not
tired of
tired
it?
enough, apparently. Yeah.
Exactly. You're still settling with it. When
Yeah.
you truly get sick and tired of being there, you take
You'll
action.
change.
You reach out. You start developing the habits,
Mm.
and people say, well, I just don't know. And I'm like, of course you do. When people say, I don't know what to do, I say, okay, look at everything in your life that you don't love, everything in your life that's creating pain, everything in your life that's creating challenge
That's
and
where we
struggle.
change.
You have it in front of you you have a mirror in front of you every single day. You literally can just pick one and say, okay, well, I'm not making enough money in this area. What are some new things that I can start learning? What are some new steps I can start taking? I
Yep.
don't have enough positive people around me. I didn't either. What are some steps that I
How
can
do I
start taking?
let's have
How do
ask
I
AI how
find
to
them?
find them. Right? You'll
Right.
find
What are
them.
some networking groups in my
Yeah.
area? Where are some
Yeah.
entrepreneurial and inspirational networks?
Yep.
Oh, I don't have the right information. Okay.
Find it.
AI.
Find
I'm in
it.
this point right now where I want to change my mindset. I want to create a healthier life for myself because I'm here, here, or here, A, B, C, or D. You pick. Give me 5 steps that I can take today that
Yep.
will help me to start creating progress in this area.
Exactly. And then actually take those steps. Like, don't just
Take
read it.
them.
Don't just read it. That seems to be
Yeah.
the problem. It reminds me of the other day I was talking to somebody and I was mentioning that I was struggling with something with work. It's a new application that I've got and I'm having a really hard time. And my staff was too busy to do it, so I had to do it. And I was struggling. So I was talking to a friend and they're like, "Oh, maybe I should just come over and we should cuddle." Excuse me, why are you trying to prevent me from being successful? Like, that's the first
Right.
thought that came to my mind. Whereas Christine 5 years ago would be like, yeah, I think I need that cuddle. I think I need that, and that would have
Yeah.
been my excuse to then put off what I need to do. So don't allow yourself those excuses to put off what you need to
Right.
do. Don't make comfort more important than that uncomfortable feeling of learning something new. And guess what? When I said no to that within an hour, I figured out what I was struggling with because I put
Hmm.
my mind to it and I got to it and I did it. Right. And so
Right.
don't allow yourself to sink back into that comfort zone because the comfort zone is what's going to kill you. Your
Right.
dreams, it's going to take them away from you. All right. So how do
Hmm.
people get a hold of you, Princeton, if they want to work with you? Because I'm sure everybody listening right now wants to work with Princeton.
Well, I say there's several ways. Well, number one, you can find me on Instagram. Most people have social media at Princeton Clark.
Mm,
You can also visit my website. My main website for my coaching is PrincetonClark.com. And then also, if you're just beginning and you want to get to know me a little bit more, maybe before you reach out to me, I also have 2 books, just finished writing my third, but the
oh,
first
I
one
love
is
it.
Awakening Your Inner Master. Awakening Your Inner Master, the journey of self-mastery. It's on
Okay.
Amazon. It's an international bestseller. And then I have Warrior of Love, Speaker of Truth. And that book is all about, the fact that within each of us, there is a spirit warring to love us and it's
Hmm.
speaking a truth to us every single day. And it's a decade anthology. So instead of being written in chapters, it's written in years. It's 8 to 10 um, eight to 10
Cool.
writings from each year between 2011 to 2021. And it's one of those books you literally just can open up and read, and it's going to give you some inspiration in your life, or you can read it straight through. I say, reach out to me, but I have other resources. I have a podcast, Evolved Mastery, just to build I like for people when they reach out to me to really get to know who I am, do their
Mm,
research, do their
right.
homework on who I am, what I stand for, and the message that I have. Because on my podcast, there is so much free information there. I have a lot of talks. If you're looking for inspiration and someone who's going to speak direct truth to you, go visit my podcast,
And
Evolved
if
Mastery.
Yeah, and that's a great way to start too. If you're stuck and not knowing where to start, is to watch other people's podcasts where they're going to be teaching you stuff, learning stuff
Yeah.
from them and growing from them. If you're not ready to like talk one-on-one, if you're not ready to divulge your truth, your pain, go and watch the leaders
Yeah.
who are talking about the steps to take, who are opening up about their stories, their truths.
Hmm.
Go and watch and see how, you know what, them disclosing their truth gained them love. It didn't lose them
Right.
love. And realize that.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if they just go to keep it simple, if they just go to Instagram at Princeton Clark, my link tree is in there. So all of my links are there
perfect.
for anything that you're looking for. My books, my podcast, my websites, everything is in my link tree on Instagram. So just go visit over there, and it'll keep things real simple for you.
I really loved having you on my show today. And I want to mention that I do want you back because you mentioned something at the beginning of the show that has not left my noggin since you mentioned it, was about how you realized you had superpowers in the things that you thought were your weaknesses, the
Oh yeah.
ADHD, all that stuff. I want you to come back and let's talk about all that because I think that's an important discussion to have with people who are diagnosed with something that they now determine is their fate, and their fate doesn't
Yeah.
look good. No, it ain't your fate, my friend. You just need
No,
to know how to.
you're neurodivergent, and you have gifts that you're just
Oh,
not tapping into.
incredible gifts, incredible gifts. I'm
Hmm.
neurodivergent, and I know many people who are, and those who are have many more gifts than those who aren't, and they need to realize that because
Hmm.
they're being told by those who don't, you can't be as better, and your brain is working at 100% quicker than most other brains. So just understand that
Right.
you got to turn this into your superpower and not let it take you down. And you just need to
Right.
get taught and you need to talk about that. So I want you to come back and I want you to talk about that. But thank
Okay.
you. Excellent. I love it. Thank you for being on my show today. This is it's great content that we've shared with everyone. So everybody, you've got your links, you've got everything you need to know, and come back every week. We're talking with more and more people like Princeton who are going to be talking about men's mental health and a whole pile of things that we need to learn about to, well, just to become better human beings and to become our best selves at all times. So I'm going to leave it
Hmm.
there. And as God told me, be love, show love, share love. That's all you need to do. Take care, everyone.
Yes. Thank you.